Welcome to an all-new edition of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you may be watching from on this Monday. First and foremost, I'd like to apologize a little bit. We didn't put out the notification that the show would be starting 15 minutes later today, so we apologize for that. But this will be the new normal time slot because of the time change for every other province except for Saskatchewan. So 1:15 is when you can tune into SJHL Weekly moving forward. Lots to get into this week on SJHL Weekly. Well, of course, we'll recap the weekend that was, and we're also going to be joined by Estevan Bruins head coach and GM Jason Tatarnic. Let's bring in our lovely co-host, Jamie Neugebauer, Rory McGouran. Fellas, how was your weekend?
Really great weekend. Exciting time in the SJHL. The showcase is 1 week away, so that's something that everyone looks forward to. And then just announced today, you could take the rankings with a grain of salt, but it's really cool to see in the CJHL, the SJHL have the number 1 and the number 2 teams in the country, the Flin Flon Bombers and the Humboldt Broncos, respectively. So congrats to those two. And it's just, it's really cool to see. Whether you want to put a lot of weight on it or not, but
that's very true.
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's nice to be, noticed. And, sports, all sports is a comparing game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, it looks good for our league to be at the top. Don't know what it means other than that, but it's nice. It's good to look good. We need to look good because we need college scouts to be like, oh, there's something going on in the SJ.
And good timing because, like Rory mentioned, the SJHL Showcase literally is next week, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on in the show. But let's recap the weekend that was in the Saskatchewan Junior League. It was actually, comparatively to past weekends, a quieter weekend. There wasn't as many games compared, but let's start with Friday. 4 games on the schedule. The Humboldt Broncos doubling up the Neugebauer Hawks 6-3. The Notre Dame Hounds with a big 2-1 win on the road against the Melville Millionaires. A dominant performance by the Estevan Bruins, winning 5-1 over LaRange, and a big 8-5 victory for the Battleford's Northstars over Yorkton. Then moving on to Saturday, a lot of rematches from Friday. Humboldt completing the weekend home-and-home sweep of the Neugebauer Hawks, winning 5-3. Melville coming back in the third period to knock off the Notre Dame Hounds 5-4. Estevan beating LaRange 4-3. And then a wild game in Kindersley between the Clippers and the Terriers that saw Kindersley win 7-6. And of course, all of our look-backs this season are presented by our good friends at Sask Lotteries. Fellas, let's start with the Estevan Bruins this week. They played 3 games in 4 nights. They beat Melfort on Wednesday, and then they sweep 2 games up in LaRange, a difficult building to play in, but this is kind of the way we thought the Bruins would be playing this season, and they're back above 500 now.
Yeah, 7-6 record now, and I did like their social media tweet that said "Peace out, North Pole."
I was howling.
It was a great road trip for the Estevan Bruins. We know that they're not a bottom team in the league, right? So we expected things to kind of turn around. Consistency wasn't there. When you talked to head coach Jason Tatarnic, he said, we just aren't getting bounces. We've been playing good majority of the times. It's just it seems like things aren't going our way, and we don't know why, but we hope to figure it out. And interesting that, to ask these questions to Jason Tatarnic today as he'll join us on the show. But, these were 3 great games. Their power play was 4 for 13 on that northern road trip. They averaged 5 goals a game after averaging 2.33 throughout their first 12, which, as we know in this league, is not enough, right? 28 goals in the first 12 games. They changed that. They scored 15 in their final 3. Turner McMillan has been an unreal acquisition to that top line with Owen Barrow and Keegan Little. It has allowed players like Tristan Dussault and Ilya Chmielewski, Gabriel Filion to, maybe get a little less attention from the top D pairing. You can see those guys start to really find it. And I just think consistency with a lineup now that's been the same over the course 2 weeks or so, you can finally see that starting to gel. So this is the Bruins team that I expected, that I saw 2 weeks ago in Humboldt. They looked great, and now a 3-for-3 northern road trip, which is really tough to do. Neugsie kind of hinted at it. Don't worry about Estevan. They'll figure it out. It looks like they are.
Yeah, I was pounding that point all year, really. And, big news for the Estevan Bruins, too, and as well as Jeromy Corrigan's fantasy team. Cam Herdlicka back in the lineup. No excuses from him, just mentally ready, go in and get it. 2 wins in a tough place for a goalie to just jump in at the Mel Hagelin Uniplex because shots are coming at you from everywhere. Yes, the Estevan Bruins played very well, on that road trip. But, we saw him, Jeromy, there in Carlisle, even the neutral site game, filling water bottles for his teammates, getting towels for his teammates, great attitude. And that is bared right out the second he's able to play again. He's come in and he's done what the Estevan Bruins needed him to do, and that was win the hockey games for him. I should mention quickly there, you mentioned the Melfort Mustangs. Ryan Duguay, man, oh man, what a year. Only one game all year that Duguay has not got a point. But obviously you said there, Estevan winning anyways there at the Northern Lights Palace, 3-3. A little bit of shoddy geography work with their graphics makers is pretty funny.
It was funny though. It led to a good back and forth between Larange and Estevan.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fun back and forth. And Estevan's got another weapon coming in Zach Burfoot. I was authorized to announce that.
They just posted it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm glad
there you go. I asked Jason Tatarnic earlier today if it was okay if I mentioned Burfoot, and he said, sure, go ahead. So there you go. It's on social media, and I definitely can't get in trouble now. No. And so Zach Burfoot, obviously, with the Bruins back in 21-22, a couple of years in the null, but back. And again, another weapon for that cupboard. What a nice goal that was on the power play there, McMillan to Chmielewski. Yikes. When they get going, they're going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, and Rory kind of made that point. Going into that Melfort game, they'd only scored 28 goals. And I remember even talking with Jason Tatarnic pre-game. He said he wasn't too worried about it because the last couple of games, especially the Humboldt game and even the Balfords game that they lost, that was a 3-2 hockey game for most of the game, a couple empty netters. But they were doing the right things, and eventually the bounces were going to come, and they saw a lot of that this weekend.
Yeah, 100%. 51 shots on goal in that second game against Larange on Saturday. So, I'm not worried about the Estevan Bruins right now. And as he said, Cam Hrdlicka back between the pipes, as good as any in the SJHL. That will shore up a lot of, if there was deficiencies, which I never really saw there being any. It was just, okay, let's find this on a more consistent basis. Yeah,
good for Jackson Miller to get a good stretch of 100%. Games. I mean, you talk about backup, quote-unquote backup goalies or 1B goalies, whatever you want to call it. They always say, hey, it's so tough to just jump in sometimes, and great development for him. He's not a young kid anymore. He's an 04, but got a long stretch. Jason Tatarnic, I'm sure, saw enough of him to say, hey, we can play him when Cam can't now because he can get in there, and he's had experience now. So I think that's big too, and just I think it's all kind of positive looking out right now from the Estevan Bruins.
All right, let's move on to the home and home between the Notre Dame Hounds and the Melville Millionaires. Obviously, Neugsie, you had a front row seat to both games. What'd you see from the home and home between these two clubs?
Yeah, so from a Notre Dame perspective, in a vacuum, I think it was a good weekend. The Hounds were the better team for 5 of 6 periods. We're either leading or tied for 5 of 6 periods. The Hounds have won 5 of 8. Cole Wyron has the longest point streak in the SJHL with on an 8-game point streak since they acquired him, basically. But it's still hard for me as a Notre Dame person to get overly excited given the whole and the third period that they had in Lumsden. The game there in Melville, that was the first time the Melville Millionaires had lost at home all year. They were 5-0 going into that game, and I think it was the first time really all year that I think Brett Pilkington can say that the Hounds have played a 60-minute hockey game and was happy with their structure and with their focus and their defensive acumen all game. And they didn't quit, they worked hard, and in the end they got their reward there in Melville. From a Melville perspective, Doug Johnson was very unhappy with his team's performance over the 2 games. As I said, Notre Dame was the better team for 5 of 6 periods. Notre Dame deserves credit. Melville, back to the drawing board a little bit as a result. But the third period in Lumsden there, the neutral site game that the Millionaires were able to rally, they actually scored 4 straight goals. And they got some great performances from Caden Drury and Jaden Eogan, who didn't play in Melville, but he was terrific in Lumsden. Boy, can that kid play. 05 birth year, he can really fly. So the Mills outshot the Hounds 14-6 in the third period and scored 4 straight. And rumors. Speaking of the demise of the battle of the Estevan Bruins, quote unquote, the Melville Millionaires don't have any demise either if they can play like they did in the third period. Neither of these teams, Notre Dame and Melville, lately have been able to find that consistency that you really want. That's been the frustrating part of it. When either of these teams play their game, they're both very good. But consistency, I think Brett Pilkington and Doug Johnson both have their heads scratching a little bit. But it was a very even 2 games, and that bared out in the 2 1-goal games.
I like the third period, especially in the second game for the Melville Millionaires as well, right? The neutral site game, because we know when Melville has that lead, tough to take it away from them. They're undefeated when leading after the first, undefeated when leading after the second, but they were 1-4 when trailing after the second. So Notre Dame with that 3-2 lead after 2 periods of play, Melville finds a way. That's going to kind of create confidence that, hey, the offense can work when we really need it to as well. But you mentioned it. Melville 6-4 in their last 10, so, right above 500, and Notre Dame 5-5 in their last 10 games. So, a little bit more of a consistent basis. Were you impressed by Melville? Because I've yet to see them at least live. I've watched a few games, and this is a team that no one, really had in their top 6, to put it fairly, and now they are right there. So, what did you kind of take away from 120 minutes of watching them?
Yeah, what I took away is that they're pretty similar to Notre Dame. I mean, they attack in packs of 4- and 5-man units, and they try to stifle you all over the ice. We've all watched Doug Johnson teams over the year, and I don't think this Melville team does anything different than what Doug Johnson's old Nipawin's team did. They don't have maybe the firepower that those Nipawin teams have had over those years, especially when they won the championship back in 2018, but Caden Drury, as I said, was terrific. They have some pieces. They have some experience on the back end. Colby Ball and Peyton Kostitian together, a terrific unit when they're going. Peyton Kostitian, to me, one of the real underrated defensemen in the league. He is tough, and he's huge, and he will hurt you, and he will hit you, and he does not get in trouble. So if the Mills, they play the way they did in the third period against in Lumsden, then they're okay. I think Notre Dame, really misses, Vinny Palmerine. Hopefully he can get back as soon as possible. You talk about every team is missing a guy or 2 or 3. But when you get to a team that doesn't have maybe the depth of some of the other teams where they can kind of plug and play, like a Connor Toohey, when you expected Dalen Weagle maybe to be there, if you're a humble Broncos fan, for example, or whatever you want to say.
Across the board.
Across the board, it makes that kind of lost those minutes tougher, and guys like Owen Dawson, guys like, Ashton Breyer have to play that many more minutes that maybe Brett Pilkington and staff don't want to see as much. They want to see them grow and develop, and they're good hockey players, but just looking for them to be in their roles if you want to win as a hockey team. And I think maybe that kind of happened in the third period where the Hounds maybe ran out of gas just a little bit. But as I said, 5 of 6 periods were good for the Hounds. I think Doug Johnson is not happy either. It's interesting. 2 teams got a win in each. I don't know if either of them are happy right now. So interesting stuff.
Quick point on Peyton Kostitian. He says how physical he is, how good he looks defensively for one of the best defensive teams. He's also set offensive high career numbers in 25 games fewer. So he's doing it on both ends. And finally, I'm just going to foreshadow it. I know you always ask us at the end of the show, right? Yep. It is the return of Doug Johnson to the cage tomorrow, which is going to be an electric game. So a mad Doug Johnson going into the Centennial Arena, the Cage, to take on his former team, where I assume he's going to get, a well-respected applause for what he did in Nipawin. He should get that.
Brought them a championship,
a championship, 3 Coach of the Year awards. Like it was exceptional, but what he did. But that's a great game coming up tomorrow.
And just when you look at the week for the Melville Millionaires too, because you have Nipawin on Tuesday where, like you mentioned, Rory, they're going to go up and play the Nipawin Hawks. And then right before the SJHL showcase, home and home, the Estevan Bruins. And those are going to be two big games in the Viterra division. Let's move on to another home and home that Rory had a front seat to, and that's the Humboldt Broncos sweeping the home and home with the Nipawin Hawks. Overall, what'd you see?
Well, let's first start off with that the season series between the Broncos and the Hawks now is over. And I love rivalries, especially out-of-division rivalries, when you can create that sort of storyline behind it. But this was just absolutely absurd. 41% of Nipawin's last 22 games have been against Humboldt.
That's
going
nuts.
back to the playoffs, right? The 5-game series. 36% of Humboldt's games has been against Nipawin. So it's been a lot between these two teams. I was impressed with Humboldt. I was also impressed with Nipawin not giving up at the end of the second game, trailing 4-1 with 4 minutes left. They made it as close as possible, scoring on a power play, scoring with the net empty, and it really gave the Humboldt Bronco fans an exciting way to finish off that Saturday game. But Humboldt picks up 8 points, or 7 out of possible 8 points in this series. They're back to scoring and averaging 5 goals a game. 6 in the first game, 5 in the second game. And they're getting production from different guys seemingly every night. Ben Costantino steps up a 4-point night. Jeter Cordy just had 4 goals in his last 5 games, right? So it doesn't always need to be the Cage Newans as Neugsie mentioned Connor Toohey, who snapped a 5-game pointless drought. I've just been really impressed with what Humboldt's done with only carrying 6 20-year-olds. One of them's been out of the roster basically since the start of the season. He's only played 4 games since September. They have more 18-year-olds than 19-year-olds. But when you have a netminder like Ben Motu back there, it really helps out everything, and the defense is playing well in front of them. And then for Nipawin's sake, they didn't have Damon Cunningham. Tyson Endahl was great.
Right.
He made some huge saves. They didn't have Maguire Ratslav, so they needed guys like Alex Bernauer to step up. They needed guys, Evan Forrest, who's been fantastic. And I think that the second game and the first game, Nipawin can't hang their head over it because Humboldt's the only undefeated team left in the league. They were just 2 competitive games, and now the season series is over, so both can kind of put that percentage of that rivalry behind them. But I was impressed. I was impressed with both teams.
Like, Rory, if you could put your finger on what it is, like the last couple of years, at least in the regular season, win pretty, win ugly. At the end of the day, like most nights, it seems like the Humboldt Broncos find a way to win. Like, what is it? What is that little it factor that you think that this team has? Is it leadership?
Yep.
What is it?
This year, leadership's a big thing. I think the chemistry, how fast it's come together, is in the top 3 reasons. Their defensive structure is the best I've seen since I've been a part of the Humboldt Broncos team. They don't allow shots. They're quick out of their zone. Transitional play. Motu back there obviously shores up any mishaps that the defense have.
Yeah, right.
But collectively as a team, they are playing the most consistent, cohesive game, and I think that's it for this year because it doesn't seem that if they have a bad period, the next period they're outscoring their opponent by 3. They can make changes. I think Scott Barney's identified talent to really play a game no matter how they need to play it, whether it's, rough and tough in the corners, whether it's high flying and high scoring. They got the guys that can do that. And their leaders have been their leaders. But I just think it's that identity that has been built and the culture that has been built that is really propelling them. No matter what situation they're in, they're going to find a way to win.
It's impressive.
All right, let's move on to there's three other teams in the SJHL that were in action this weekend, and one of them played in both games, and that was the Yorkton Terriers. We'll start with the Terriers and the Northstars on that Friday night game. Obviously, a lot of goals scored between the Stars and the Terriers, and I mean, since the return of Kean Bell, obviously the Battlefords Northstars continue to put the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's kind of a tale of two cities here between Battlefords and Yorkton. One of them is having a trouble keeping the puck out of the net right now. 35 goals in their last 6 games against for the Yorkton Terriers and 24 in their last 3. In terms for Battlefords, it is not that problem. It is Kean Bell with 18 points in his last 5. It's 7 wins in their last 10 games, and they just keep lighting and filling the back of the net. Guys like Ben Portner has stepped up, right? Brad Blake is amazing in his 3rd year with the Northstars. I know getting Kean Bell back is going to elevate any team's offensive game, but it's the tale of 2 cities for me between Yorkton and Battlefords.
Yeah, I obviously got to mention Caleb Allen dealt to Wayway in the Manitoba League as a piece of it. And, Kean Bell, he's got 8 power play assists, but none of them goals. 8 of his goals, all even strength, a couple of them empty netters. But he's really been a boost, but it hasn't been a one-man show in Battleford. Certainly getting Justin Merrick back in net has also been a big piece of it. And, that line, you mentioned Ben Portner, you mentioned Brad Blake. Is there a better line right now in the SJHL than those 3 together? It's hard to argue, at least the production. I mean, 7-game point streak for Bradley Blake, 12 points over that span, 18 points in 5 games for Kean Bell, which is not terrible. I'm no math guy, as I always like to say, but that's pretty good. And, for the Yorkton Terriers, it's new goalie there in the net and Adam Kelly that they got, former Weyburn Red Wing, and young Blake Sittler getting his feet wet. So if those guys can get a few games under their belt, I think that'll make a difference. Getting Tyson Birkins back, he's just back. So, getting him back and fully situated, I think it's a real work in progress right now for Yorkton. And plenty of teams have gone up to the Access Communications Center the last couple of years and not had a fun time. So, all Yorkton could do is reload and get ready for Wednesday night in the Duncan McNeil Arena, which is never an easy place to go. But there's still plenty of firepower on this Yorkton Terriers team to turn it around fast.
Well, what I want to add with Yorkton too is obviously you're seeing the highlights right now of Friday night's game, but to play in your 3rd game in 3 nights, then the next night against the Kindersley Clippers, and for the most part, they led for most of the night, and the effort that they put out, you know, I think that even though they didn't get the result, that's a positive you can build off going into Wednesday, because they played a very good game against the Clippers. It just seemed like they led for most of that game, and then late in the third, they just ran out of gas.
Well, the Kindersley Clippers power play is good.
It's good.
And the Yorkton Terriers penalty kill has been, well, neither of those teams have had a great time penalty killing this year, but Kindersley, you throw Logan Linklater out there with a little bit more time and space, he'll find Keenan Ingram, he'll find Tylen Hilbig, et cetera. It's a problem if you're taking penalties. Yorkton's power play was clicking on the night too. I think there were about 7 combined power play goals in the 13 goals scored on the night. Kind of good old-fashioned hockey, junior hockey game. Coaches losing hair if they have any left. But it's one of those typical junior hockey nights, 7-6 and last goal wins, and don't take any penalties because it's probably in the back of your net. It was that kind of a night in Kindersley. But more often than not, it seems like the Kindersley Clippers find a way to win at home, and even with Clayton Jardine this year. The question is, can they go out on the road? But they are always very, very good at West Central Event Center.
Can we talk about the quick story of Keenan Ingram?
Yes.
Right now as well, joining that top line of Logan Linklater and Tylen Hilbig. And it's unique, as you mentioned, Neugsie, with Ingram, right? Kind of a late bloomer, if you could call him that. Goes over to Junior B in BC. Kind of finds that development curve, and he's come over to the Kindersley Clippers, and he was one of their best players the last time I saw them last weekend. Big, strong, definitely not a slouch in the skating department. He can move, he can shoot it. I love the story of Keenan Ingram, and what a pickup for the Clips.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see that development, AA to AAA, and then AAA to junior or whatever. This guy went from AA to Columbia Valley in the KI and dominated. He was the player of the year or the rookie of the year in the KI with Columbia Valley, which is a very good KI team. Jeromy Corrigan is more of the KI expert than I am. I'll say that. A former KI alum too, I think, something like that. No. Anyways, he tried out for a junior team out there. But anyways, my point is, good for Keenan Ingram. Really blossomed, playing really well with Logan Linklater, who continues to play well as well. And kudos to Keenan Ingram for sticking with it. He's an 04, so. He's still got another year, too, to continue to develop, but a great start. Got 16 points in 13 games, and they needed it. Yeah, they needed that depth in Kindersley, so good for him.
Yeah, and it adds, to that line of Linklater and Hilbig. That becomes one of the better lines in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, to say the least. But before we go to break, we missed it. I missed it. I'll take the blame for it. We got to take a look at the Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the week. It's a beauty. Have a look.
Off the back wall, out in front, 2 Hawks whack at it and both missed. Back coming Van Blaerkom. What a move again. He shakes the ankles of Biondo. Now cuts in, Van Blaerkom scores! Matthew Van Blaerkom dances around the defense and fires the go-ahead goal. It's 2-1 Humboldt. Oh, baby, what a move for MVB.
I have to ask, Rory.
Yeah.
Have you called him the MVP on every goal this year?
No. He's got 13 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be a lot.
Maybe 4. I have.
I like it, though. I like it.
When he puts on an electric move like that, it's hard not to throw out the MVB. Or the website, too. I might have to use that one. That's Neugsie's one for him. But he's been electric. And, I mean, Vito Biondo and Ronan Buckberger are not too easy defensemen to make those moves around. And Matthew Van Blaerkom, he certainly showed his abilities there.
Yeah, C-listed NHL draft watch list player too. Scott Barney does not throw around like this kid could be drafted very lightly, and he has said that to me a couple times about Matthew Van Blaerkom. So there you go.
Well, he said that on the show literally 2 weeks ago when we had him on the show. I want to ask you this, Rory, because obviously you saw him last year and now to this year. What part of his game has he taken the biggest step in his development?
All of it. And it's crazy to see, even in like a little bit of the training camp, especially through preseason, right? All of it, the speed, the strength, the creativity, the fearlessness to kind of cut into those areas. And he's not getting caught. You could, if you try to dip in right when there's 2 defensemen, someone's going to try to take you out, but it's all of it. But the biggest 2 is his speed and his strength, and Neugsie saw it too. What do you think's the biggest kind of development curve? Because it's all gone from really, really good to elite level.
Yeah, 100%
over the course of one off season.
Well, and I echo everything you said. I think couple things I always say, Scott Barney, like a bunch of the coaches in this league will trust a young kid and say, show me what you got, and give him that opportunity. And, you know this better than me, but it looks like from the outside that Scott Barney has said, hey, Matt, like, go be yourself. Go be a little bit Brad Marchand-y, a little bit get in your face. Like, the king of that in this league to me is Tucker Buhay on Melville, and get into the blue paint and be a bit of a rat and be no fun to play against and whatever. I don't want to use any pejorative terminology, but
they're all compliments.
They're compliments. Big time. I
Yeah.
love Tucker Buhay.
Yeah.
Like I love watching that kid play, and I love watching Matt Van Blaricom, because Scott Barney has not reined him in to say, hey, like, don't go and be yourself. He's like, go out, be yourself, express yourself, and that gives a kid confidence. For a young kid, for a big coach like Scott Barney to say, go be yourself. I trust you. And clearly that's what's happened, and I think that's the last piece of the puzzle to everything you just said.
Yep.
Well, 13 goals in 12 games so far this season for Matthew Van Blaricom, and I'm sure we'll get some more MVP goal calls from Rory in the future. Before we go to break, I got to give a big shout out to all of our great sponsors here at the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for help supporting our show. Of course, UPL for being the presenting sponsor for all of our shows here at the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, SJHL Weekly, SJHL Insider, all of our produced shows. Thank you so much for your support, UPL, for being the presenting sponsor. And a big shout out to all of our other great sponsors: Bourgault, Cantera Seeds, Capital Automall, Great Western, Nutrien RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, these shows would not be possible. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Estevan Bruins, Jason Tatarnic, and get his thoughts on a perfect road trip, 3 games in 4 nights this past week for his Estevan Bruins. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
And now down to Bruce Buck.
It's time for Rockmania at Capital GMC. Get rates as low as 0.99% and savings up to $8,000 on a new GMC Sierra. Plus used trucks with low rates and no payments for 90 days. It's Rockmania at Capital GMC in Regina.
Connecting with customers can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. At Direct West, we have the marketing tools and expertise to help introduce your business to the masses and help it grow. Connect with more customers. Direct West.
As a student, things can pile up fast. Ouch. But the RBC Student Banking Bundle makes back to school easier with up to $275 in value. That's a whole pile of takeout.
Today, online bullying is more common than ever, but there is help. SaskTel wants to solve this problem. It's why they created Be Kind Online. If you're a victim of online bullying or know someone who is, or even if you just want to stop it from happening to anyone, this is a place to learn what you can do. You can find lots of tools and tips to help you stand up to cyberbullying. Be Kind Online is a place to learn how to stay safe as well, to learn best practices and plans to stop cyberbullying before it even has a chance.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Sask Energy Network members are the best choice for natural gas solutions for your home or business. With comprehensive services like heating equipment maintenance, appliance installation, and in-store financing, they have natural gas solutions that go beyond heating to bring you the comfort, efficiency, and reliability of natural gas, both indoors and outdoors, all year long. For whole home natural gas solutions, network members burn brighter.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Jamie, Rory, and Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining us today, wherever you are tuning in across the SJHL social media platforms. But it's time now to go to the video chat line, where we're pleased to be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Estevan Bruins, Mr. Jason Tatarnic. Jason, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. Really appreciate it. How's it going?
Pretty good, and thanks for having me.
Well, first and foremost, Jason, I'll ask you about the 2 games up in La Ronge. Obviously, you guys complete the week sweep of your 3-game and 4-night road trip. What do you think of your team's play up in La Ronge?
Yeah, no, I was really happy with our play. We started off real well on Friday, and we wanted to carry that over to Saturday. But just did a lot of things really well, and I thought our work ethic was really good. And I think winning that game in Melfort helped set that tone as well.
Yeah, Tarts, thank you so much for your time, as always. Just talk about getting Cam Hrdlicka back. What does that mean on and off the ice for you guys?
Yeah, it's been kind of weird for us. Start of the season, both our goalies were playing games with some nagging injuries, and both of them weren't 100% for a while, and then we lost Cam there for a good stretch. And when you get a guy like Cam back, who's done so well in our league, and he just has that confidence about him, and he instills confidence in our guys. And anytime you get a goalie of his capability back in the lineup, it definitely boosts your hockey team. So I thought he played extremely well in both games.
Hey, Jason, so before the Northern road trip, right, the team is 4-6. Obviously, everyone there is wanting, a little more out of the Estevan Bruins. You know how difficult it is to go up to Melfort and La Ronge. You guys sweep that whole Northern road trip. What did you see being kind of the catalyst in order to pick up 6 full points? Like maybe a couple of the key changes in order to get that production from the Bruins, which we're all expecting to see over the course of the rest of the year.
I think we just watched some video on you guys, and how you talked about how we were struggling so much, and gave our guys a little bit more of a boost. No, but in all seriousness, it's just one of those things. I think we've been playing really good hockey since that third period of the game in Carlisle against Notre Dame. And other times I thought we played real well in some other games, and just we didn't have any luck around the nets. Just missing prime opportunities, missing empty nets, etc. Missing on some really nice plays, and just seem everything that when we made a mistake, it just ended up in the back of our net. The team just made us pay. And I thought we started to get some luck, got rewarded for some of our hard work. And, I think our guys start to play a little bit harder with a little bit more urgency. As you mentioned, no one likes to have a losing record. And, so at some point you have to do something about it yourselves. And you can only talk about the missed chances and the bad luck so much, and you just got to go out and earn it. And I thought our guys have been doing a pretty good job of that lately.
Jason, just to kind of piggyback off of Neugsie's question, obviously getting Cam Hrdlicka back in the lineup is huge for your hockey club, but to have Jackson Miller fill in during that time for your team and play some important minutes for you, what do you think of his performance and his, development from last year to this year?
Yeah, Jackson's been playing really well for us, and I thought his development really took off last year at the end of the season, and I think it's carried over, this year. And he won us some hockey games in that stretch as well, and lost some very close games. You look at the shootout loss to Nip when I thought he was fantastic in that game. So he's playing really well, and Cam's just a little bit more experienced as a 20-year-old, and and Jackson will get there as well in time. So we're very comfortable with both our goalies, and Jackson won some big games last year for us too. He and won the game. I got a shutout against Battleford, so he's more than capable as a goalie.
For sure, Tarts. One of your big acquisitions this year, obviously, we're all thrilled to see Philly Fife go and get his head coach job out in Amherst in the Maritimes, where he's from. But you bring in a really known entity in Saskatchewan in Drew Kosher. How's that kind of relationship going? How do you feel like he's doing as an assistant coach?
He's doing really well. Brand new league to him. It takes a little time to adjust for every coach, and I was no different. And he's doing really well on the hockey front, and he's also in charge of our sponsorship and our social media. I know you guys enjoyed that post, so he's done a great job, and I'm very confident in him. He's got the green light to make his own decisions with the defense, and I'll fully support him on all the decisions he makes. And he's got some experience. He's won a championship, so he knows what it takes to win. So he's pretty valuable to our hockey team.
You just talked about experience. You talked about being valuable. Well, 8 points in 8 games for Turner McMillan, and, slotting right up on that top line with Owen Barrow, Keegan Little. Just how much professionalism, experience, has Turner brought in? Of course, the brother of a former Bruin and Cade McMillan, so always great to have kind of those relationships. But bringing Turner in has really kind of, I think, solidified an offense, allowed Chmielewski, Filion to kind of, maybe play not against the top D pairing every night. How good has Turner been for your team?
Yeah, he's been really good. He just brings that work ethic, that tenacity to the ice every game, and plays a physical game, not afraid to mix it up, and he has a really good skill set, and he makes players around him better. He's definitely helped our power play. That's no secret, and and he's just a kid that likes. He wants to win. He competes, and I think Estevan Bruins is it's a family affair for them. His brother, his dad, his uncles, they've all played here. So, it's a program that they care about, and it shows in practice and it shows in games.
Jason, you talked about the team's social media. Well, you guys just announced 30 minutes ago that you acquired Zach Burfoot. Maybe just tell us about your new acquisition.
Yeah, it was surprising to get that call, but he's a player that won a championship here. Our fans know him, and he's a player that's put up some points with limited ice time that year. He is a very offensive player, very smart, and he went down south, and he was pretty much a point a game player in the North American Hockey League last year, and he's a half a point guy right now coming up here, and I think he's just another guy that gives us another offensive person on the ice for us, and it's going to make us even deeper. And he knows what it takes to win. He's done it, and anytime you can add another player that has that championship experience, it's good for your dressing room, and he just really makes us deeper up front to our game in the offensive zone.
For sure. Just a last one from me, Tarts. Just again, you guys kind of asked about that road trip, but going up and playing Melfort, obviously Trevor Blevin's a really established coach in this league, and obviously Kevin Kaminski gets his team playing, a certain way up in L'Orange. How good was it for your team to kind of have that long bus trip together, that bonding experience, and also to win through it? Because you can stay at home and be comfortable, but you're out there on the road together, and it's a long way up there. How good was that for your club?
No, I think it was really good, and we kind of changed the way we traveled this year. We decided to do 3 and 4s with a day off after the first game, and we went into Melfort, and our goal was, our goal right from the start was to win all 3, and in Melfort, I thought we played really well. Thought we had a couple of chances early in the second to extend the league, and we didn't, but we fought back and in the third period and found the tying goal and the winning goal. And I think the big thing, our mindset was, let's win that first game, then we'll go into L'Orange, and it's kind of a separation weekend. L'Orange was right there with us with points, and we knew if we could take 2 from them, that would separate us. And we also had some teams ahead of us that we wanted to chase and hunt. And I think we've put ourselves in a real good situation right now with 1 point behind Weyburn, only 2 points behind Melville, and if we win our game in hand, we're only, I believe, we're only a pointer from Melfort. So we put ourselves in a good spot, and we got a week to work to get prepared for our Melville series, and then it's right at the showcase. So I think we're eager to play Melville, and we're really looking forward to the showcase games as well.
That led into my last question as well before rapid fire. From the 10th to the 18th, you guys got 5 games. 3 against Melville, of course, divisional games. 1 against Battlefords, 1 against Flin Flon. You said you loved the urgency, you loved the tenacity you guys were playing with up north. What's the one thing you're kind of looking forward to towards that busy stretch with divisional games and hoping to see out of your team continue through that stretch?
Yeah, as a staff, we want to see our players continue to want to chase and want to hunt points, and with the people above us, and we want to separate ourselves from the people below us as well. So that's what I'm looking forward to, because I think those Melville games are big.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. And then you get to the showcase, and I don't think we gave our best showing against Flin Flon. I thought we played 1 period out of 3, and Balford's we felt it was a real tight game, and we had some really good chances to tie the game or go ahead, and we didn't capitalize. And so that's another game we're looking forward to, as we felt we didn't, I don't want to say we didn't play our best, but just think we missed some opportunities to score goals. I thought it was a good hockey game played by both teams. So we got those division games, and we got one team that we absolutely love playing against, and we'll see them soon. And then, Battleford's games are always good when we play them.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a fast-paced stretch, and speaking of a fast-paced stretch, it's time for rapid fire. I got 4 of them for you. You never know what can happen. Here we go. If you had an age reversal potion, which graduating player from your SJHL championship team are you reversing his age and bringing back onto the team?
I can only pick one?
One, yeah.
Jeez, that's tough. Because there's Pouliot, Rumsey, Pierce, Beloa, Steeks, Jones. I can't answer.
Oh, well, you gave us 5.
It's too hard.
Yeah. A lot of age reversal potion.
Pick one out of that.
I thought you were going to pick Pierce. But...
Yeah, you did thought Pierce. I thought Pouliot, but they were both names, so we're both right.
You know what? If I had to pick one, I guess I'm going to say Pouliot, because he scored that important goal-ahead goal in Game 7.
What's the greatest hockey movie of all time?
Ooh, Slapshot.
If we all know Gibby's in Estevan there. They do karaoke about 3 or 4 times a week. I'm not sure if you've ever dabbled, but if you were to, what's the go-to Tatarnic karaoke song?
Ooh, I couldn't pick one there, Rory.
Maybe a band? Is there a band that you got a few of them that you could go to?
I listen to everything, so know what? I'll throw out maybe probably a Mumford & Sons song.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I do a couple of those myself, actually. Right now, if it were playoffs, which rivalry would provide the crazier atmosphere? If playoffs were right now, you guys against the Red Wings or you guys against the Bombers?
I'd probably have to say, for me personally.
Sure.
Or our fans.
Both.
However you want to answer it, Tart. That's a good question.
You keep on giving me these questions that have easily 2 answers to. I don't know.
They would both be fantastic.
They would.
Yeah. But probably, I'd probably have to say Flin Flon, because we're 1-on-1.
There you go.
There you go. Good answer. Good answer. Well, Jason, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it as always. And best of luck this weekend against Melville.
Thanks. You guys did a great job. And it's definitely a big promotional factor for our league. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
That is the head coach and general manager of the Estevan Bruins, Jason Tatarnic. Like Rory mentioned, big 5-game stretch for the Bruins coming up.
5-game stretch.
3 games against Melville, Flin Flon, Battleford.
I tossed him some hard rapid fire.
Those were
too,
some tough ones. Yeah,
a lot of options.
I'm a little stressed over here.
Well, before we go to break, we have to get to at least one person's favorite segment on this show, and that being Neugs and Notes with Neugsie. So Neugsie, as always,
sit back and relax here.
You can take it away.
I would love to see a Tarts and Rory Mumford and Sons duet. That would be awesome.
At Gibby's.
At Gibby's.
No free ads, but
Rory needs to bring his guitar.
I will
so
wait. Little Lion Man. Which
whatever.
one do you want?
Yeah.
Gibby's, we're sending you a bill, by the way.
All right.
No free ads.
There you go. I like Gibby's. Yep. There you go. Neugs and Notes. There you go. Not sponsored by Neugebauer today, though, unfortunately. All right. So the sponsor of the week is Super U. It's a subsidiary of Cook Agronomic Services, which is part of Cook Industries, which is a company with 120,000 plus employees operating in over 70 countries on the planet, which is a lot of countries. And Super U is a premium fertilizer that features the highest concentration of nitrogen available in a ready-to-use stabilized fertilizer. And they're kind of dominating the corn yield world right now, according to a 2018 University of Illinois study. So good for you, Super U. What do you guys think is a percentage of concentrated nitrogen that gives Super U that title right now? What do you think would be a good percentage? Just throw a number at me.
62.
78.
Based on nothing. So 46% nitrogen is the highest in the field. So according to the Super U website, it's the highest percentage of nitrogen in
really put us on the spot.
In a ready-to-use stabilized fertilizer right now. So there you go. Cool. Noah Houle, congratulations. The Flin Flon Bombers defenseman. A full ride scholarship is my understanding to Lindenwood, also known as SJHLU. I'm just kidding, though there are plenty of SJHL guys there.
5 or 6
and committed there. Yeah, the leading
bit.
scorer is Jake Southgate, the former captain of the SJHL defending champion, Battleford's Northstars. Jaden Mercier, obviously his teammate there. Noah Houle's teammate there from last year's there. Ethan Zilke, former captain of the Broncos. Drew Kuzma, also there. Flin Flon and Weyburn. And Rory, who's my favorite Lindenwood commit?
Elliot Dutiel.
Currently former Hound, of course, at Chilliwack. Right now in the BCHL. I talked to Mike Reagan this morning a bit about it, actually, and he said about 10, 11 D1s were interested in Noah Houle. 2 of them were offering him full ride scholarships, which is awesome.
That's great.
I just finished paying my student loans last year, so I'm super happy for you, Noah. Of course, Big Brother is at the University of Maine, so I thought maybe he'd go there, but cool stuff. And apparently the clincher was a visit down to St. Charles, Missouri, which is just the northwest suburb of St. Louis, which is where Lindenwood University is. And Noah Houle loved it, and obviously his buddy Jaden Mercier is there, so he becomes the 6th D1 Schollied player in the league right now. Ronan Buckberger, Matthew Van Blaricom, Zach Summers, Jake Vockler, and Connor Miller are the others. So there you go. Top 2 in the CJ rankings. We talked about it there just briefly there. Flin Flon is 1, Humboldt is 2. Good for you. Don't know what that means, but cool.
It means they're both good teams.
It means they're both good teams.
Yeah.
They're good at hockey.
And my last point for Neugs and Notes is that we're deep into the World U17 Challenge going on right now in Prince Edward Island. The USA is just dominating. Good for them. They got the U17 program national team that plays together all year, so fair enough, whereas Canada has 2 teams that are thrown together, including Macklin, Saskatchewan's Cole Rechny, who's got 4 points on a line with Gavin McKenna, the cousin of Connor Bedard, who's ripping it up with Medicine Hat, and might be a first overall pick in the NHL draft in a couple of years. Who knows? And Joby Baumüller, your favorite and mine, the former Notre Dame Hounds Junior A, played a game last year, got a point in a game in Weyburn for the Junior Hounds. Terrific young man, first-round pick of the Brandon Wheat Kings, playing for Canada White, has 2 assists in the tournament, and the gold medal game is Saturday. You can check it out and the details on hockeycanada.ca.
There you have it. Another great edition of Neugs and Notes. Neugsie, great job as always.
Thank you.
It's a full bowl there.
That was a full bowl there, for sure. All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we were going to hand out some Player of the Week awards as well as Neugsie has a quiz for us. So stay
tuned. Risky Quizness?
Risky Quizness. I came up with the name. I'm taking credit for it. But Risky Quizness too. But you can stay tuned for that after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
The Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Advanced power and capability to tackle the long hauls. Style to make a statement on the streets. Visit ChevroletOffers.ca to learn more.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Thanks for helping me out and trying to protect me today. It's the kind of thing that, somebody comes out who's not ready, not prepared, and put into an awkward situation without somebody taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm going to protect you. It's going to shorten people's careers. And that's a big reason why we exist and, what drives us to do what we do.
They know how important their role is in the community, being a good leader, showing kids that there is a right and a wrong way to do things and leading the right way, being a positive role model to not just kids in the community, but anybody in the community.
Coach said a lot of great things that are really consistent with the values that we have at the SCSA and, respect for those around us, respect for those that we work side by side with, leadership, and part of that is being innovative and collaborative and solving problems together. Really, the last one that you touched on was integrity, doing what's right and doing it the right way. And those things just yield incredible results, not just in terms of making things safe, but really being productive and striving, whether it be in a game or in your life or in your business.
I think absolutely we try and fill the roles of all those values and just try to be the best people we can, really, not only for ourselves, but for our teammates and for the community around us.
Had a lot of fun today. Thanks, guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Original 16. Celebrate things done.
Waterways, Saskatchewan.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. Jamie, Rory, and Jeremy, thanks so much for joining us wherever you are tuning in today for SJHL Weekly. Before we get into Players of the Week, I do want to mention good news. Next week, we are still going to have SJHL Weekly. We will be live from the SJHL Showcase, which is super exciting. And you know what? It works out better, I think, this year, because the showcase is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and our show will act as kind of like a pregame show before the showcase, which is super exciting. We're all excited for it. So be sure to get your Flow Hockey subscription. And if you're in the Warman area, games throughout the next 4 days.
First game Monday at 4:30.
4:30.
So right out of the show, pretty much.
Pretty much.
1 to 2, a little bit of a break, a little primer, and then 4:30 we're into it.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you are in the Warman area, check out the SJHL Showcase. It's going to be a great 4 days of hockey. But let's get into players of the week for this past week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Let's start with SGEU MVP of the week, Neugsie, defending his title, Kean Bell. 3 goals, 5 assists, 2 games played. He's on a tear.
Yeah, and as I said, none of his goals have been on the power play. Really made that Portner Bradley Blake line as deadly as they come. Battleford's just flying high. They got a 3-game win streak going. Kean Bell seems like he's unstoppable. We talked about his sort of 3 points per game clip. Can he hang on to that?
It's higher.
So far, so good, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, it's gone up to 3.6.
Marty's going to have to think of a different way of calling his goals because the ring the bell is just going to be used. A little bit too much might break the bell. I don't know.
I'm still waiting for the promotion in Battleford as a free bell night.
Man, oh man.
So that they can ring the bell whenever Kean scores. All right, congratulations, Kean, SGEU MVP once again. Moving on, Rory Bourgault, forward of the week. You brought him up earlier. We got to talk about Keenan Ingram of the Kindersley Clippers. 3 goals, 3 assists in 2 games. He's been awesome for the Clippers early on this season.
Yeah, I mean, look at his size there up above, 6'3", 205, but he also does it all. He is not just a park yourself in front of the net type of power forward, cause havoc there. He's physical, he's great skater, tough along the walls, and that line of Linklater, Ingram, and Tylen Hilbig, physical, fast, all can score. I mean, what's Tylen Hilbig? 6'3", 6'4" as well, right? Logan Linklater, probably 6'1", 6 feet. It's a talented line, and I've been really impressed with Keenan Ingram, and just a guy that, good job on Kindersley and scouting him, AA, Junior B in BC, and now over a point per game in his first dozen or so in the SJ.
Yeah, and the Kindersley Clippers will be looking for that line to continue to produce moving forward. So congratulations, Keenan. Bourgault, forward of the week. Moving on, Super U defenseman of the week, Neugsie from the Estevan Bruins. Felix Allard, 2 goals, 3 assists. He has played a lot for this hockey club early on this season.
Yeah, he's been terrific. And, you think about a guy that's always wanting to be that 4th defenseman into the rush. What rink is better for him to play in probably than other than home, of course, than up in Larange, where he was dominant as the Bruins were for the most part dominant. And, Felix has been really good all year long as the Bruins have started to find their way. No surprise that he just keeps humming along because he's been terrific, one of the best defensemen in the SJHL. There's no doubt about it all season long.
Congratulations, Felix Allard, Super U defenseman of the week. Moving on, Direct West Rookie of the Week, Rory from the Humboldt Broncos. You see him firsthand. Ben Costantino, excellent weekend. 2 goals, 4 assists in 2 games played.
Yeah, he's a real special talent, a 6'4" defenseman who extremely mobile, extremely long reach, keeping defenders to the outside. Only an 18-year-old, 2005 birth year, right? So a guy that's been a pedigree towards the Broncos being one of the best defensive teams in the SJHL, but he's also got 8 points in his last 4 games, going back even prior to the week. A point-per-game defenseman who I don't think has been getting enough consideration. Now he finally does, although 7 of his 13 points is against Nipawin. So he definitely loves playing the Nipawin Hawks, and he's just been growing leaps and bounds game in, game out. So a huge, when you can get a big defenseman like that who can skate and jump in the rush, it's a huge pleasure for a lot of teams.
Just unfortunately for Ben, no more games against Nipawin.
No more games against Nipawin,
year, unless they meet in the playoffs again. But we'll see. Congratulations, Ben, for being Direct West Rookie of the Week. Moving on, SaskTel Goalie of the Week. Neugsie, you brought him up earlier. Cam Hrdlicka of the Estevan Bruins, 2 big wins, and he didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about hockey is the lessons that it gives you in life, and things were not going Cam Hrdlicka's way for a while in terms of his health. Just couldn't get back in the lineup. I kept saying another day. But his attitude did not waver. This guy has a SJHL championship ring, 20-year-old goalie, but he was still, as I said, filling up water bottles, getting towels for guys. What can I do for you? How can I help? How can I be a great teammate? And then when you do things like that, when you're in the right frame of mind, when you're in a giving kind of servant frame of mind, you're ready to jump in and play your part on the ice. mentally. And Cam Hrdlicka did not miss a beat. Talked about it there. You saw it on the screen a second ago, a 940 save percentage in a tough rink to go because there's so many pucks flying at you in L'Orange. The Bruins played very well up there, but Cam did too. And so, very, very happy for an absolutely terrific human being. One of the best that the SJHL has seen in a long time. Really, really happy for Cam.
Congratulations, Cam, SaskTel Goalie of the Week. And finally, Rory, we were talking about it earlier about all these different players stepping up for the Battleford's Northstars and for the Saskatchewan Player of the Week. Riley Giroux, the Battleford's Northstars, 2 goals, 3 assists this past week, and quietly, he's almost a point per game this season.
Yeah, I love Riley Giroux as a player. He's one of those kind of pests that Neugsie was talking about earlier, Tucker Buhay type style. He gets under the skin of his players. He's speed, he's physical, not the biggest, but he doesn't shy away from getting into those altercations. And yeah, it's not just Kean Bell and his 18 points in 5 games. It's guys like this is the reason why Battleford's has 19 goals in their last 3 games. And Giroux is he's kind of that heart and soul type player that your line mates and teammates will go out and battle for because he does it every shift. And a great week for him, 5 points in 3 games.
So
or 2 games, pardon me.
Congratulations to Riley Giroux, Saskatchewan Player of the Week. And of course, as always, you can read up about all of the players of the week this past week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League on sjhl.ca. The article is up now. We teased it, and now we're going to go to it. Risky Quizness. With Neugsie. Neugsie's got some hard-hitting quiz questions for us.
Who's the guy on the TSN panel that hates the quiz?
John Tortorella.
Or is it O'Neill?
I don't know.
Jeff O'Neill, I think, also hates the quiz, right? I'm not going to be like that. Well, I loved this segment idea when you brought it up.
None of us hate the quiz.
And I grew a mustache specifically to be the host as well. So
Excellent.
Hopefully you guys all enjoy it at home, and I enjoy not having the pressure questions thrown at me. I get to throw the questions at Jeromy.
Yeah.
Or you're used to it, but we get to throw some questions
and we'll
at
clip
Jeromy
it.
As well. Should be a lot of fun. And
we're
going to clip it.
I'll answer,
guys in the back,
but I won't give it as much thought as you guys.
Okay.
Well, Neugsie, you have the floor.
Which may be true in general. I don't know. All right. Here we go. So question number 1. And again, I don't have as many fun preambles as you did when you did it. But anyways, here we go. Question number 1. Which kid has benefited the most from playing for a new head coach this year? Obviously, Melville, Yorkton, Kindersley with new head coaches this year. Which of these 3 guys or other benefited the most? Caden Drury of the Melville Millionaires, Aiden Knutson of the Yorkton Terriers, Alex Mack of the Kindersley Clippers, or other? And Jeromy, we'll let you go first.
Wow, I get the honors. I'm going to go with Caden Drury of the Melville Millionaires just because I think when you have a new coach coming in and obviously it's a fresh restart for a lot of these players. And for Caden Drury to come out, he's almost at his point total from last season in his second year in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. It's hard not to go with him because he's been elevated into a great opportunity in the top 6, and he's producing, and he's doing a great job for Doug.
I have it other.
Okay.
I have left those 3 players who have all been exceptional this year under new head coaches, but I'm sticking with the Melville Millionaires, and I'm going on their blue line. I'm going Peyton Kostitian with Doug Johnson. He is getting... How would you not want to be a defenseman playing under Doug Johnson, absorbing all of that, right? It'll really prepare you to whatever venture you want to take next in your hockey career, wherever Peyton Kostitian does go. Not only is he getting to absorb all that defensive knowledge, being on Melville, one of the best shutdown teams in the league, but he's already set a new high in terms of offensive points as a 20-year-old, and he's done it in 25 games fewer. Last year he had 6 points in 37 games. He's already got 7 points in 13 games. So
there you go.
Mine, Peyton Kostitian, other of the Melville Millionaires.
I'm going to go with Caden Drury also. Just think he's one of the premium players in the league, and it would be crazy if he wasn't at the SJMJ Showcase. So great job to Caden to really turn things around. All right. Next question. Assuming Matthew Van Blaricom is the front runner for the SJHL contribution to Canada West at the World Junior A Challenge coming up this year, who is the second kid in the league that you would like the Humboldt Broncos / Canada West head coach Scott Barney to take with him on that trip? So Ronan Buckberger, the 06 defenseman for the Nipawin Hawks, Alexi Silvestri, the 04 forward for the Flin Flon Bombers, or Carson Olsen of the Battleford's Northstars, the 06 defenseman, or other? And Rory, we'll go with you.
It's close, but I will give the edge to Ronan Buckberger of the Nipawin Hawks, the 06 defenseman. I know Team Canada West, you're only allowed to carry 304s, or maybe it's 4. 2000.
I think it's 4.
5, I think. Actually.
Is it 5 19-year-olds? I thought it was 4.
It's 4 or 5.
Maybe it's
one
5
or the
or
other.
5,
It's
yeah.
4.
Silvestri, really great power forward that does it all for the Flin Flon Bombers. But I have seen so much of Nipwin and so much of Ronan Buchberger to see enough that he would not be out of place in that tournament. He's the best defenseman on the Nipwin Hawks, and he's a 17-year-old. Power play, he can quarterback it if you need to. His speed and his foot speed is not below average. It will keep up with everyone else, and my pick is Ronan Buchberger.
I have to echo everything Rory just said. I had Ronan Buchberger as well. I think we'd be having a different conversation maybe if Alexei was still 18. Then maybe he would.
100%.
But that factor of the 19-year-olds for Team Canada West, it's a tough go. You have to be obviously an elite player to be a 19-year-old on that Team Canada West team. Alexei is an elite player, but there's so many good 19-year-olds. So as a result, I'm going to go with Ronan as well.
And I'm going to go other, and I'm going to get some angry messages about being a homer, and that's totally fun because I don't care because I'm a huge Carter Hines fan.
A homer.
Huge homer, that's fine. Carter Hines, young 06 birth-year defenseman. Look, this team will have power play quarterbacks. This team will have top 6 forwards. Most of them from the Alberta League. Let's just call a spade a spade. So what do you need? You need a 5'6" shutdown defenseman who can skate, who's 6'6", who can defend against anybody, who's great, smart defenseman, smart, good teammate, like all the things you want to hear. That's Carter Hines. So I'm going to go with other Carter Hines.
I was really impressed by Hines in the 3 games that I've seen earlier this season.
Yeah,
you just couldn't wait for that question, couldn't you?
Yeah. Well, hey, I can't.
But you're not wrong.
I could talk about Carter Hines all day.
He's been exceptional.
And Mr. Irrelevant in the QMJHL draft a couple of years ago to the Quebec Rempart, the last pick of the QMJHL draft a couple of years ago. All right, there you go. Fun fact. All right. If you had the power to add an SJHL franchise to one community in Saskatchewan, which would it be? Would it be Warman? Would it be Balgonie? Would it be Meadow Lake? Would it be Paul Drouin's favorite, Assiniboia? Or would it be other? And Jeromy, we'll let you go first.
I think the easy answer to this is Warman.
Yeah.
However, I know the 3 of us have had conversation about Warman as a potential opportunity that a lot of things would have to change. So I'm not going to say Warman. And quite frankly, Neugsie, when you brought this question to the forefront yesterday, I was like, you know what? If I had that power, I would just go the fun route. And I'm going to say something completely different. I'm going to bring back the SJHL franchise from the mid-90s. The Minot Top Guns.
Oh.
We're going south of the border.
Shopping in the south of the border.
Great mall. Wow. But that'd be a dream situation. Cool. Not a realistic situation, but a dream situation. The Minot Top Guns. Also, great game. Or great team name, I should say.
I wrote the article, the section in Rod Peterson's collection book about the history of the SJHL on the Minot franchise. So you can check out the history book.
And they would just come out to highway to the danger zone every time. It'd be great.
I'm Assiniboia. What a beautiful new rink they have there, right? That's the positive. The negative is their population is 2,700
and a great score clock.
It is tough with that population to not pick Warman.
Yeah.
Beautiful rink, a great location. Obviously, population is right there. And Jeromy mentioned it, things would have to change in terms of league rules and geographically auto-protected players. I think if Warman had a team, they would have so many auto-protected players that it might need to be pivoted out of the rule book.
It would.
But too much of it lines up with Warman making sense for that place to have an SJHL team. So I'm going to say Warman, but obviously there would need to be some logistical changing. Yes.
Sure. I'm going to go to try to balance out looking at from a whole kind of league perspective, balance out where the teams are. And I think another team in the Northwest would be kind of nice. So I'll say Meadow Lake had some good kids come out of there. I think about Dylan Esau is probably the one that's the first one that comes to my mind. Marshall, or not Marshall, he's from Moosomin. A couple of other Meadow Lake kids have been around too. So I'm going to go Meadow Lake, great senior hockey town too. So there you go. Who has the nicest jerseys in the league? We saw L'Orange with some new jerseys when they played Estevan. A lot of the teams in this league have kind come out with some new jerseys this year. Who has the nicest jerseys in the league other than the teams that you are affiliated with? Obviously, Jeromy has been calling some games with the Estevan Bruins, so I'm asking Jeromy not to say Estevan and asking Rory not to say Humble.
Okay.
But Rory, who's got the nicest in the league? Leaving it open.
It's tough. I am a nostalgia type of guy, so I grew up as a Red Wings fan.
Oh.
So I do like the winged wheel, right, of the Detroit Red Wings. But I mean, the Melville Millionaires, their new jersey is sharp. So it's a toss up between those two Viterra division teams.
Yeah, for me, it's the Melville Blues. I think those are super sharp, and I love the logo. But I will give an honorable mention to those third jerseys Larange debuted over the weekend. I'm a big fan of them. I thought they were super sharp.
For sure.
You got a pick?
Yeah. I mean, I really like the black Nipawin jerseys. I'm always been
that's
a
another
black,
good one. Yeah,
a black jersey guy. So I'm gonna go with the black Nipawin Hawks. New ones that are pretty sweet. All right, you're the commissioner of the league for a day with the power to do what you want. I know that's not how it works, Kyle. I know, but if you had the power to do whatever you wanted, what's one element of gameplay that you would get rid of? And here are my options for you: shootouts, which I hate. Really hate shootouts. Offsides, full 2-minute power plays regardless of a goal.
Offsides.
Just
none.
No offsides.
Okay.
Yeah, no
Wow.
offsides.
Okay.
Full 2-minute power plays regardless of a goal or other.
Okay.
For me, it's shootouts.
Yeah.
I think they were good for 2 years, and I think the honeymoon phase is over. I'm tired of them. Quite frankly, I would rather see 10 minutes of 3-on-3, and if two teams didn't score 10 minutes 3-on-3, neither team deserves the extra point and it ends in a tie. I would rather see that. That's how much I don't like shootouts. So I would eliminate shootouts.
I'm going to take other and a semi one on the power play. I'll tell you why in a second. The other one I'm going to say, I know fighting is becoming a smaller portion of the game, but it does still have its merit. It does still have a place where it is needed. And the one thing I would like to see changed is that some of those players who have that ability and can have that kind of nuclear option, if they are maxed out at fights at the regular season, I would like to see that reset for playoffs. I don't want them worried about getting a 2-game playoff suspension for standing up for a teammate that gets hit from behind, right? Well, I would like it reset at playoffs, the fight. The 4 fights. That's one of them.
That's a good one.
That's a
I
good
like
one,
that.
Rory. I like
Thank
that.
you. And then, so for the power play, you said that if you score on a delayed power play, you get to keep the 2 minutes.
If you score on a minor 2-minute power play, you
get the full 2 minutes.
You get the full 2 minutes no matter what.
Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to go that far, but I would like to change the way it is categorized in a stats. And I know they do this in Europe because that is where the head coach of the Broncos, Scott Barney's played, and they do it.
Korea.
They do it based off of goals per 2 minute. So sometimes you may only have a 12-second power play, right?
Interesting.
And that gets credited 0 for 1 if you don't score in the 12 seconds. Are you really 0 for 1? Not really. You're 0 for 12 seconds.
Sure.
So they rate it as a goal per 2 minutes of power play time, which will really give you a realistic idea of how good a power play is. Because a team could be 1 for 8 in a game, but 2 of those power plays could have been 25 combined seconds.
Fair point.
Are they really 1 for 8? No,
that's
they're not.
very statistical as opposed to like how the game is played. But
Yeah, no, the commissioner doesn't have to change that. We can just do it.
Maybe we could change
we could look that up.
But the fight one I would change.
Yeah, well, that's good. I would definitely take shootouts in the OJHL. When I left it, it was 4-on-4 for 5 minutes, then 3-on-3 for 5 minutes, and then it's a tie.
Yep.
Yes, I like that a lot. And rarely did games end a tie. Rarely. And kids are just exhausted by the time it's 3-on-3 time. Someone's going to make a mistake.
Exactly.
Goal's going to go in. I don't remember many ties. So, anyways, there you go. Last question: which coach in the league do you think would do the best job broadcasting an SJHL game? I got Cody Mapes of the Weyburn Red Wings, Braden Klamosko of the Battleford's Northstars, Scott Barney of the Humboldt Broncos, or other, and we'll get you to go first, Rory.
I'll say Braden Klamosko of the Battleford's Northstars, right? I feel it's always positive energy with that guy. He's always smiling. He can carry conversations. I think he would fill in and have a knack of the broadcasting ability. I was on the fence with Scott Barney too because of how his career went. He would have so many great guests to bring in and insight, and his player eye is great. But I'll take that positive atmosphere and energy of Braden Klamosko. I'm
going to go other, and I'm going to say Mike Reagan of the Flin Flon Bombers for the sole reason that we would maybe finally get to hear his Rob Hart impersonation. So I will say Mike Reagan.
There you go. I'm going to go with Cody Mapes just because he's completely honest, it seems like, at all times, and just says what comes to his mind, and I appreciate that about him. And he's got lots of energy, and Nick Nielsen are a great combo there in Weyburn in terms of energy, and Coach being similar as the broadcaster. So I'm going to go with Cody Mapes, but there's no wrong answers. We love all of you. There you go. That is the first Neugsie quiz. What did you say?
Risky Quizness with Neugsie.
With Neugsie.
I like it.
All right. Well, you might have to make this an ongoing segment.
All right.
Good job, Neugs. Those were some really good questions. You did a really good job thinking of those.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. All right. Before we go, let's tee up the first couple of days of this week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. We kind of teased it earlier. But a big game tomorrow night up at the Cage in Nipawin. The Melville Millionaires visit the Nipawin Hawks. Of course, this is the return of Doug Johnson to the Cage in Nipawin, where he spent a good tenure of time coaching for the Nipawin Hawks. And then, of course, on Wednesday, a pair of games on the schedule. The Weyburn Red Wings will visit the Kindersley Clippers. The Weyburn has a very busy schedule prior to the SJHL Showcase, playing 3 and 4. And as well, the Yorkton Terriers visiting the Notre Dame Hounds. Of course, those are just the first 2 days of the week. But as I always do at the end of the show, guys, I'll ask you, what are you looking forward to this week ahead of the SJHL Showcase? Neugsie, you want to go first?
You know what I'm picking.
Yeah.
I foreshadowed it. You can pick the same.
Just say it at the same time.
I agree, but I thought it was very interesting, a little set that Weyburn and Battleford's had earlier this year, especially given their playoff series, and they've got 2 in a row, Friday, Saturday, both in Battleford's. Can this Battleford's team be beat with Key and Bell on the team? They haven't really been pushed too hard since
they lost the first game.
But other than that, it's been smooth sailing. So will they ever run into a speed bump? Obviously there's a long way to go, but we'll see. But I'm always interested to see when Weyburn plays Battleford's now, because it's like they have a little bit of a mini rivalry.
The only game they did lose to was the Weyburn Red Wings.
There you go.
10-5 score.
Full circle.
Mine is the return of Doug Johnson to the Cage. It's Melville, Nipawin. It's tomorrow. You don't have to wait long. 24 hours time, and that thing is that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, $20 will get you a seat, but you'll only need the edge. It's going to be a great matchup between Melville and Nipawin. I'm going to say that home and home for Estevan and Melville, because I think those two teams right now separated by 2 points in the Viterra division. And the first 3 meetings of the year between those two teams have been very close, except for that one game in Melville, their home opener. But it should be 2 very important games in the Viterra division. All right. Well, we have to give a big shout out once again to all of our great sponsors in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for making this show and all of our shows possible throughout the season. Of course, our presenting sponsor is UPL. Thank you so much for your support when it comes to presenting all of our great shows. Borgo, Cantera Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Great Western Nutrient, RBC Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Sask Lotteries, Tourism Saskatchewan, UPL, Sask Energy, SGU, SGI. Thank you so much for your support. Without your support, these shows would not be possible. Of course, we have a big week upcoming this week, but then next week, it's even bigger, because it's the 2023 SJHL Showcase live from Warman. So you'll want to stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League by following us across all of our social media platforms. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Be sure to get your Flow Hockey subscription. That's how you'll be able to tune in to all the great games at the SJHL Showcase if you are unable to make the games in Warman. Of course, we touched on it. Warman, great facility. If you are in the area, going to be a lot of great hockey taking place next week at the SJHL Showcase. And that is where our next show next week will come from. The SJHL Showcase in Warman. Going to be a great time as always. A big week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Get out to your local rink. Support your local team. Of course, if not, you can tune in on Flow Hockey. For Jamie Neugebauer, for Rory McGouran, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. But most importantly, enjoy the games this week, everyone.